So how's the day going?
Still good. It's still in the morning in Sri Lanka.
So yeah, so I think we can just get started with the session if we are good to go.
Yeah, give me some like 2 minutes.
Sure. So how's the weather in Sri Lanka?
It's like the monsoon season. It's raining every day.
Oh, it's in India. It's been for my place. It's been kind of sunny for a few days now. It having kind of rain sometimes like that. So yeah,
Okay.
and so please do let me know if when we are good to start. So yeah,
Yeah, we can start now. Can you see my screen?
not
I
yet.
Okay, I have shared my screen. Let me know once it's visible for you.
Okay.
Can you see it now?
Not yet. Like any attendees are seeing it. Is it my problem? Uh, any of you guys can update if you are able to see it. Uh, Probably some delay from the teams.
Okay, then let me share again. Let me know once it's visible.
Not yet. Not sure what is happening. Uh,
Can any of you see the screen? Shall I switch off my camera and try?
yeah, sure. Let's try something, whichever works.
Can you see my screen now?
No, not. mm,
So what
Maybe
shall we do? Yeah,
maybe you can leave the session and
and
come back
join
again.
again.
Yeah,
Okay,
let's
we'll
try
do
that.
that. Yeah.
I'm sorry for the inconvenience, guys. It is an unexpected error. So please do wait for a few more minutes till we get started. I'm not sure why Teams is having these problems every now and then. Like it just comes back again and again. Oh, so wait for the speaker to rejoin and then we'll be getting started. It's almost past 5 minutes that we are scheduled for. So yes, it's visible now, finally. So um, first of all, welcome you all to the session on serverless API with Azure Functions, and we have Ansamali with us today, who is Azure MVP, also a MCT, and she is a blogger and author as well. So she is from Sri Lanka, and she will be walking us through how you can use the APIs and all the other things. Let us hear from her. Over to you.
Thank you, Surak, for the nice introduction. So we'll start with the session. So you hope all you can see my PowerPoint slides. In today's session, I'm going to talk about Azure Functions and APIM, API Management Service. I'm Hansamali Kamage. I work as a technical lead at CAM Management Solutions in Sri Lanka. And also I'm a Azure MVP, also a Microsoft certified trainer. Okay, so we'll dive deep into the session. Okay. Uh, what is Azure Functions? So we can think Azure Functions in terms of when some event occurs, Azure Functions are going to be very useful to uh, get something done. So in those days, bit like a few years back, so we were writing the web applications to do to serve some customer requests. We were developing web APIs or maybe web services, WCF. And nowadays, most people, the developers and the companies, they are more likely to move into the cloud from the on-premises. So these Azure services like app services, functions, these logic apps, so those are very popular. So this Azure function can be initiated through an event. So your code, the whatever the code that you are writing inside this function, so can be invoked from an event. So that can be HTTP request. So when HTTP request comes, you know that we have implemented web services, WCF kind of stuff to get the to do some processing inside the application or the service and give some response to the consumer applications or maybe for the clients. So same like the same procedure we can follow for the Azure functions when we are writing Azure functions as a HTTP request. It's not only that we can write Azure functions or the functions as HTTP request, we can write function as a timer trigger. That means let's assume that in your organization you want to send a report every end of the month. So in that case, that should be that function should get invoked from the consumer application only at the specific date of the month. So that's more based on the time That's something like timely based. So you can write a timer trigger. You can specify in your function, I want to invoke this function, I want to run this function only on 30th of this month, something like that. And also, we have so many services available in Azure. For the in terms of storages, we have blob storages, we have table storages. So based on the items that we are going to save or that we are going to modify in these storages, like in the blob storage, when you are trying to upload some image, you are trying to upload your users images into the blob storage. When that happens, when that action happens, you can write you can write a Azure function to come up and do his processing and go down. So when a blob is going to saved into the storage, you can do some processing over there and get the response. And also we have we have service bus queue, notification hub, like services as well. So when a new message is received in your service bus queue, in your notification hub, or maybe in one of your database instances, you can write function when this document is uploaded into your, maybe your Cosmos DB. You can ask the function to come up and do his processing and go down, something like that. And the beauty of that Azure function is, when if we are trying to create a web API, web maybe app service, maybe we are trying to deploy a web application or a website. So in there also, we are one of the functionality of this website can be to send a message at the end of the month. But if we take a online portal, or maybe a website, or maybe some food delivery, a shopping cart, something like that, food delivery service, so that website should be always on for the consumers. But what about this, to send a to in the background, to send some message to the user at the end of the month, so that should not be available every time. Where you want to do something, you want to send a message to the user, your photos has been uploaded to the blob storage, to our storage. You will, once this request has been processed, you will get a notification. So that message or that function needs to be triggered when the user's photos are getting uploaded to the blob storage, only on that time. So this kind of a service doesn't needs to stay online every time. It can come up, it will be in the offline state. It can come up when a document is, when the photos or the documents are uploaded to your storage only. So beauty of that is, you can save lot of cost because of that. You don't want to have a very dedicated always on server to run this type of function, this run this type of maybe a workload, right? You can have a consumption plan. So that's the beauty of Azure functions. And you can write these functions in from C sharp to PowerShell, Python, Java, most of the languages. And you can generate some outputs based on some events. This function will come up and it will do some processing, and from the in terms of response, you can write some uh, maybe some login, some, you can publish a message to a queue, you can save a document to a database, kind of stuff you can do. You don't have to like worry about this what will be the scale in, what will be the underlying infrastructure, what is the provision in the patchings that you have to implement. You just have to just simply focus on the business logic. You don't have to worry about the infrastructure. This automatically, the scaling will be happen when you are using a consumption plan. And also, you have to only pay for the amount of time your code actually runs in the consumption plan, for the time that your code runs and the resources that the code is going to use for that time. You don't have to like a service plan to have a always online, always available server like a website. You just have to, that will be enough if you have a consumption plan. So this billing model includes on-demand scaling, and also it's a event-driven approach. So these functions are going to be serverless. You don't have to worry about the server infrastructure or anything. Okay, so that's about the Azure functions, and we have this. This is a very simple example of a function JSON. So this is actually a function that we are going to do in the demo as well. So this is a sample uh, set-in file for the function. So if you see, so we if you see, we have the bindings here, and you can see this as I mentioned before, we have different templates to select to write a function. You can go for the HTTP trigger function, timer trigger, maybe for the Cosmos DB trigger likewise. So I have used the HTTP trigger function, and you can say you can see the authorization level for the function, and what is the input parameter for the function, that would be req, and also the what are the available methods this function uh, supports. It's only get, you can say get, post, put, delete, patch, everything. And what is the route, what is the route name? So this will be slash the base URL slash reviews. So this will be only the, this will only support get operation. So that's what this configuration file says. So if you go into code, so this is a JavaScript implementation of a HTTP trigger function. So you can see it's very simple lines of codes that you can write the HTTP trigger. The one thing, that one rule we have in Azure Functions is your function should be quick, and it should be simple, and it should be stateless, and it should only focus on one thing. You don't, it's not a very a good practice, not a better practice to put everything in a one function. You can write multiple functions for multiple, to handle multiple entities, to multiple tasks. So and HTTP trigger function is the best way to expose REST friendly API endpoint, since all of most of the applications like now talking about these backend services, the REST friendly endpoints for their mobile applications, for their services, for their web applications and all. So we can go with REST friendly endpoints if we are going to write, if we are going to use HTTP trigger functions. Okay, so now let's talk about what is this Azure APIM is, Azure API management is. So now let's say you want to create a shopping cart application. So you have products, you have users, you have product reviews, and for those products you are offering some, you are offering some discounts, special benefits. So you have product offers. So you have multiple entities in your system. So when you are having multiple entities and they are exposing different endpoints, if we take product, so it exposes get products, post product, delete a product, something like that. So in terms of user, you want to retrieve all users, you want to retrieve user by ID, you want to retrieve users who are my loyal customers, something like that. So you have set of entities and set of endpoints that these entities are going to expose. So this, because of this complexity of managing different API endpoints, Azure has introduced this Azure API management. So this APIM is a API management service that allows you to abstract your endpoints, and you can secure your endpoints and also simply publish your APIs. So the beauty is these API can run anywhere in the cloud, maybe in Azure cloud or any other cloud, or even on premises. So you have set up endpoints for the products, users, and offers. You can take take the chunk of all those API endpoints and deploy it into a APIM, Azure API management, and that can be moved into a on-prem environment as well. That can be accessed from your local machine as well. So the overhead of having in multiple endpoints, mostly the API keys. So this the consumer application, so the client application should know about what are these different URLs to retrieve a product by ID, by passing the ID. What is the security profile that product entity that product endpoints are that products endpoints requires, and what will be the request parameters I should send, and what is the response model I am getting. So to minimize this the coupling between the APIs and the consumer, so we have Azure API management. uh, so we are going to talk about this API gateway pattern. So we have this API gateway pattern. Now you can see we have multiple consumer applications that can either be your web clients, mobile apps, and also maybe some services. And you have the central point, the central location called APIM. So from your, maybe let's say your mobile application wants to retrieve all the products. So he is sending a request to the APIM, and he is receiving the products that he want. He doesn't know whether these products are available as Azure API service, or whether these are Azure function endpoints, or whether these uh, these entities, the product entities, are hosted in AKS environment. The consumer doesn't want to know about that. With APIM, these consumers are going to be very lightweight. They don't know, they don't want to know about this uh, what's happening behind in the backend services and where they resides. So we are going to omit this direct client to service communication, and this is quite bit like microservices. So this API management is going to be the single point of entry to requests from the consumer applications to these backend services. So this API management actually going to insulate, so the hide the unwanted details from the consumers. The more details like backend services, whether that's Azure function or whether that's available in AKS. And also, as I explained before, your services may have different security profiles. Some products are like most secured one. So it has like maybe let's say basic authentication, but to retrieve, maybe let's say the products are like products to retrieve the product catalog. You don't have any security profile, anyone can retrieve the product catalog. But when it comes to maybe the orders, so you want to have the basic authentication type of mechanism. So so different endpoints, different entities prefer their own security profiles. But with APIM, you can enforce the security on APIM. You can have a JWT token, JSON Web Token. When the request reaches the gateway, you can do the processing. If that's eligible only, you will be passing it to the backend side. And also the cache-in, you can implement cache-in also in the APIM. You can go for a Redis cache server and implement that on the APIM only for the product entity, because when the response data doesn't get changed more often, only we can go for caching. So you can implement caching only for the products endpoint on the APIM. So likewise, we can get lot of benefits from APIM. Okay, so the next slide. So I talked about APIM, and now in this slide, I'm going to go little more detail onto this the policies. Let's say, so as I explained earlier in the previous screen that we have seen. So you can deploy your HTTP trigger functions as Azure functions, your API, web API applications as API services, and maybe some will be available in Azure Kubernetes services. So once you have deployed them separately, you can create the APIM and integrate all of these functions, these API services into the APIM. From there, you can change the behavior of these APIs as you want. So you can do the customization, you can do caching, you can do login, you can uh, add some JOT token validation in the APIM. In order to do that, we have to create APIM policies. Azure API management policies. These policies are like collection of statements that you are going to do, that you are going to create to change the behavior of your APIs. So once you have configured your APIs, you have the freedom to apply any type of policies and shape up the behavior of your APIs. So if you want to, let's assume if you don't want to send sensitive information from your API response. This you have a legacy API, and you don't want to touch that API implementation and do some changes in there. But in the response model, there's uh, they are giving some unwanted or maybe sensitive information, maybe let's say about the user, sensitive information are going to be sent to the consumer, so that's a problem. So in order to omit that one, you can create a transformation policy in the API M gateway. So you are not letting that sensitive information pass into the consumer or caller. So as per this example, so you can say, so we are going to uh, access this get uh, get operation foo bar is our URL. So this will be the base URL and this will be the endpoint. Uh, so this is a get operation, and you can see the picture here. So you have different boundaries set up in here. And this is the consumer side. From the consumer side, you are calling these backend APIs via this API. Okay, so you can write policies, inbound policies and outbound policies. What is inbound policy? Inbound policy means when you are trying to reach, I'm saying as the mobile application, I want to retrieve all products. So before retrieving all products, you want to write some, you want to check whether this request is authenticated or not, use by creating some security mechanisms, like maybe you are trying to check access token. So that's an inbound policy. Before before reaching the backend, the consumer call, before reaching the backend service, that JWT access token part should be there. And you can write outbound policies. As an example, I said you don't want to send the sensitive user information to the caller, so that can be written as a transformation policy. That's an outbound policy. You are send you I want user details. Okay, so request comes here and some backend processing happens, and it comes to the APIM again to send it to the caller. Before sending, we want to omit that sensitive user information. So that's the outbound policy we have to write. Okay, so I think we got a little bit understanding about the policies and its scopes. Mm, so so we have these boundaries now, so let's talk about that. So in the global level, for the whole application, for every request that reaches the API management gateway, you can write global policies. So this login is a global policy, so you can asynchronously write all your income requests through maybe to a event hub, maybe to a SQL database, something like that. And course, you know about this. So with between two domains, sometimes you have restrictions to access one domain's resources. So this with course, you can restrict access to some domains, to some websites. To you can restrict the services to other domains. Only within my domain can access these resources. So you can have course and logs written as a global in the global level. So every request that reaches the APIM, that will go through this course and logs. And also we have something called I will go into here. So here this one, global level, and then the API level. So this API level, API scope is like set of operations that we have. So API scope is more like products, product entity. I have set of operations, get operation, post operation, likewise. So you can create a secure layer to access these APIs with access tokens. This JOT token policy can be implemented here in the API scope in this area. And also now let's move to the product. This product scope means it's a collection of APIs that we have. So we can implement rate or maybe quota type of policies here. So rate limit, you can implement rate limit. So within 10 seconds of within 30 minutes of time, you can call this or get all products API only 10 times, something like that. So if it exceeds 10, that means 11th request, you will get a message like you have to, the server can't handle all of these, server has too many requests. So you can implement rate limit or quota for some endpoints or for the collection of endpoints. And also the most underneath one was the operation. So that's the most granular level. You can write transformation type of policies or URL rewriting or maybe caching. If you want to cache your products or if you want to create some transformation policies, as an example, we didn't want to send the more user sensitive information to the consumers, something like that. Okay, now that's enough of talking. I think we'll move into the demo. uh yeah, so in the demo, so we will be, at first I have created the Azure, I have written a HTTP trigger function in C sharp. So let's try to deploy it into the Azure portal. So I have written that in using VS Code. Uh, so these are the, as I mentioned before, these are the products endpoints that we have. We have post, delete, get by ID, and get products, something like this. And if I go into the most simplest one, that's get products. I hope you guys can see my screen. I hope this the font size will be enough. Okay. So we have get products here. So that's a HTTP trigger. And you can see the authorization level. It has function authorization level. And the route I want it as /products. And the incoming parameter is the request. And we have the login as well. So I will move into the run and debug. And I will try to start debugging this one. Okay, it's running. We'll wait some time to appear the endpoint URLs. Since we have get products, this add product, delete and everything, we have these much of URLs available. So you can click on this one and you will be seeing this this product endpoint has been called here. So likewise, you can go here. So, but you have to say API product. I want to retrieve the first product, and you can get the product details like this. Okay. So yeah, that's the HTTP trigger functions. I have created 5 HTTP trigger functions here. I will delete this one. It's just a test, the testing function. So we have 5 endpoints here. Now I want to deploy these things, deploy these product Azure, this product as a Azure function. Inside this Azure function application, you have 5 endpoints, you have 5 functions. So let's try to do that. So I will move into the extensions here. So I have multiple extensions. So I have Azure account extension and API management and this Azure CLI tools, Azure function. So these extensions will be needed for our demo. So that's why I'm showing you the Azure tools, and the C Sharp and the REST client also should be there. And I will show you so we have some tests written here. And if we send the request, now I want to run the application again. Yeah, it's running now. Now, if you say because of the REST client in the tests uh, files that you can see the send request method. So it's going to send the request, and we'll be showing you the response shortly. Something like this. So likewise, you can test this in local. And since I have installed these extensions, so I have this Azure here. So I will move into that that place. So this is about the API management. We don't want that yet. And this is my workspace. So you have 2 local projects. I will talk about this one later. This is my endpoints that I have. So I can refresh that one. And I want to create a Azure function app to host these API endpoint. So I will go into my Azure subscription. So I have multiple function apps available here. I will be trying to create one. Create function app in Azure. And then I will be giving the name. It will be a good name. Maybe I will be saying sample products. Okay. And this is written in C Sharp, so I will go with .NET 5. I will reload the window. Maybe I may have to start again. And yeah, I want to create a new function app. Uh, we'll say sample products and .NET 5. I have to select a location. I will go with Southeast Asia. And now in the background, you can see the function app is getting created. Okay, first it's create the storage account and then the service plan. So the resources directory. So all the things will getting created here. So because of that, since it takes time, so I have already created. So I will move into my resources, all resources. I hope you can see 50 and 50 will be enough. So I have created these Azure function before. So I will move into that one. So I will move into the Azure function app that I have created. So now in here, you can see the functions available, and you can see the functions that we have that we were trying to create for the add product, for the deletes and all. So I will go into the uh, the easiest one to retrieve all the products. So in there, so you can get the function URL from here, and you can test this one. Can test this one. Just say you have to say get and run this one, and you will be getting 200 okay with this response. Okay, so these are the functions that we have. Okay, now we'll quickly move into the VS Code again. It seems now this function is created. Okay, we'll move back to the portal. Mm, yeah, this function app is created, but it doesn't have any functions here. Okay, we don't have any functions here. So your function app is there, but you want to deploy them into the this function app. So you can go to your local workspace and here, and you have your functions, these functions. Please let me know if you can't see my screen properly, if I want to like increase the font or something like that. So I will go here, and you can see the option to deploy this. So deploy to function app. You want to deploy these products, and this is my subscription. And what is the function app that we have created? The sample products, and you can say this. Yeah, I want to deploy this one, and you will be seeing the deployment happens. Okay. Uh, I want to update and deploy the version for the correct version. I will close this one. So this will be running behind the scene. So we'll move into the first the demo function that I have previously created, since it's taking time. So we have these functions here. Now this is written in C sharp. So if we move into the VS Code here, so I have another. So actually this is what we are trying to do. We have created HTTP trigger function in C sharp, and now we have deployed the function URLs to the function name. Now we'll go through the HTTP trigger function we have written in JavaScript. So that's this one. So we have products, we have reviews there. So we have this get reviews. So this is the function JSON that I have showed you earlier in my PowerPoint presentation, the HTTP trigger type and the route. And also this is the JavaScript file. Okay. So now you can deploy the same way. The difference is that you don't have to create the function as function target language as .NET 5. You have to go for the JavaScript. That's the only difference. So I have already deployed that one as demo review one. So you can go to functions and you can see that one. You can test this and do the same things that we have done for the products. And the second one, the third one actually. So we are going to talk about these product offers. So in there, for the product offers entity, I have created the web API application. So I can deploy this as a Azure API service. So I will give you a brief introduction how we can create this web API with minimal APIs. So I will create a new project and I will be going for ASP.NET Core Web API and click on next. And you can give a name and location and click on next. So you can get the most the recent.NET 6, and you can say I don't want any controllers, I want to use the minimal APIs, and hit on create. So that will be creating. Then you will be getting something like this. The only you don't have any controllers, you have the program.cs, only that file. You don't have any namespaces, this and that. So it's a very simple one. You have this web application builder, and the swaggers has been added. So like you can use the mapget method to point out the route that you are going to provide, and the route with the name. So I will close this one since I have already created something for the offers. This is the offers endpoint, and the name of the API method is getOffers. Okay, so I will try to run this one. So hopefully I will be getting the Swagger URL here. So for the offers, so I will try it out. So you can get the offer details like this. Okay, so now let's try to publish this as a API service in Azure. So I will click on the project file, click on publish. So I have already created the publish profile. I will ignore that and start from the scratch new. And I want to publish this to Azure and click on next. And I want to deploy this as a Azure App Service runs on Windows and click on next. Then you have to provide, you can select either of the app services available in your subscription or else create a new one. So I will say sample offers and the subscription name. You can create a new resource group if you want. And this hosting plan includes what type of hosting mechanisms, what type of hosting resources that you want to require. So I will be creating a new one, the good name, and a preferred location, and what is the size of your memory or your computational power. For this one, I will go with free. If you want, you can go with one core with 175 GB of memory. I will go with free version. If I want, I can scale it out. So I will be creating this one. So it will be creating the API app service for me. So since this is taking some time, I will move into the Azure portal. Okay, so we already have this offers API available here. So this is the, you will be able to see the URL here. So this is the offers API. So the consumers can call this. What is the endpoint that we use is offers, if you remember from the Visual Studio. If you remember, I will, yeah, I will close this one. If you remember, this is the offers endpoint, the endpoint that we have used. So I will hit on that. So you will be able to get the offers information like this. Okay, so we have the API service as well. So now we have these two Azure functions and one API app service as well. So now I want to create the API management service. That means APIM. So we have done these. We have created the C# trigger functions, JavaScript functions, and deploy all of them as function apps. And we have created the minimal web API and deploy that as API app service. The next one is you have to create the APIM instance and deploy all of these two functions plus the web API into this APIM. Okay, we'll do that. Now I want to create a APIM instance. So I will click on create. So you can search for APIM, API management, and I will be creating this one. Okay. So here you can provide the resource group, maybe PIM. You can create a new resource group. You can select a region. I will go with this. I will be creating the resource name as this one. Okay, so you can provide organization name and administrator email. And for the pricing tier, I will go with the most basic one with no SLAs, since this is a demo application. So I will be creating this. This will also take some time. So because of that, I will go for the already created one here. Okay, so that I think I will move to the all resources. I will be selecting my subscription and my type. Here, API management service. So I will go to the H. I think this is still under, yeah, this is seems this is working. So this is the API management service I have created. So you can see you have the possibility of creating multiple APIs under this API of the as the test API. It has provided something like this. But now let's try to move our first API that has written in C sharp, the product endpoint, to here. So I will be saying I want to add the API. So you can have the possibility of manually creating HTTP API, or maybe go with to import your WSDL, previous web services, and also go with the logic applications, app service, or function app, or the container app. So I will go with the function app. So I want to browse what are the available function apps in here. So I will go with the demo products one and click on select. So it will be loading my the functions that's available. It will take some time. Just want to check the speed of my internet connection. So it still loads. Okay, finally it's here. So I don't want these delete endpoints to be integrated into the API name. So I can uncheck that one and go with only these ones. So this will be your function app. So you can provide a display name as let's say my products. And for the URL prefix also, I will say my product. So this is the APIM URL, and this will be the this will be the URL to access your product related ones that has been came came from the Azure function that we have written in C sharp. So I will say create. This will be getting created hopefully soon. If not, we may have to go to our backup APIM instance that's available. We'll give it some time. Okay, it's here. So we have these endpoints, add, get, and these update stuff. So if I go into the most basic one, that's get products. So you can have the feasibility of testing this one from the APIM. So uh, this will be the all the in under my product. So it will available all the product entity related endpoints. This is to retrieve the product. So this is to uh, add the product with the post. Okay, so I will move into here, get products, and I will click on send. So this is the HTTP request. It will be requesting the resource from the Azure function actually from the backend. So that's the get products endpoint. Okay, so now I want to import my JavaScript function as well to here. So you can do that, or else I will try to import my Azure API service that for the offers. So I will go to the app service. So you can go with browser and you can say, you can find this offers API and click on select, and yeah, so you can provide a good name like my offers and create. Okay, so you can see this one, my products and my offers. Okay, since we have the reviews API also available in my previous application, so I will previous APIM instance, I will be going there. So this is the API management service that I have previously created. So it has the products, these offers, and these reviews as well. Okay, so here, so now we want to move into the policies part. So now we have deployed all these uh, functions and the API service into APIM. Now I want to create some policies and apply some revisions. Okay, so I will be doing that. So for the policies, we talked about many policies in the PowerPoint slides. So I will be selecting this get products. Okay, so here first of all, I will create a revision. Okay, so already I have some revisions here. So these are the versions. So let's say you want to upgrade your APIs into a certain maybe at every month you want to upgrade your APIs, but the already existing customers doesn't want to know that your APIs has been upgraded or some new features has been introduced. So if so, you can create a revision. Once it is stable and tested properly only, you can let all the customers know, okay, you can use the latest revision of our API. So likewise, you can manage different versions of your APIs here. So I will click on add revision. I will say this is revisions 4 and I will be creating this one. Okay, so we are under the revision 4 here. If you want, you can move into the revision number you want. So this is the get products endpoint here. And you have the feasibility to test this one. So if I'm trying to test this one, you can see the request URL is revision. You have rev4 as well. So if I move into revision 2 maybe, so get products, you can see rev2. For the initial revision, if you move into the initial revision, revision 1, get products, you can see we don't have any revision number. Okay, so I will move into revision 4 and I want to do some apply some policies. For that, you can either way, you can apply that for the all of the products or maybe for one operation. I will go for the one operation one, and we'll go for the get products, and we'll move into the design. So in design, you can see you can add inbound processing, no, outbound policies, as I mentioned before. So I want to add the policy for the get products endpoint. So you can add the policy from here. You have some sample policies. So I will go for the other policies, and I want to get some suggestions from here, from snippets. We have cache-in policies, transformation policies, and I want to restrict the number of calls for a certain amount of time. So because of that, I will go for this one. I don't want this information. So I want to limit the calls to 2 times, only for 2 times within 10 seconds. So I will save this one. And now I will move into the test tab, and I will be trying to send request multiple times. So now you can see you get 429, too many requests. After some time, after 10 seconds, it will come back to normal. You will be able to get the, oh sorry, you will be able to get the 200. Okay. So if you move into the revision 1, right, it doesn't have any policies here for the get products endpoint. Okay, and here setting, sorry, design, we don't have any policies here, just empty. Okay, then I will move into the test tab and try to hit the same endpoint multiple times, but it shows only 200. Okay, I don't get too many requests message. Okay, also I will move into the VS Code. From VS Code, so previously we tested this one from the test files. So if you move into the Azure tab and to the API management, so under my subscription, so we have the demo API, and you have the multiple APIs available, and you can test this one. You can see the policies, you can see the operations under this one. So I want to test the get products one. Okay. So for that one, you can say test operation. So you want to provide the API subscription key. So that can be retrieved from the APIM here. Subscriptions. You can say show hide keys. You can create a subscription key as well. So I will get the primary key and I will paste it here, and I will send the request, and I will be getting a response like this. Please note that the request URL here, that's this one, right? So let's go now. Let's try to create multiple request. It shows 200. Okay. Now let's check whether our policy is working or not. So I will move into the APIs and products. So here get products. So under I will be moving into revision 4. That's the API version that we have applied these policies, and get products. And I want to move into the test tab actually to retrieve the API endpoint URL. Please bear with me for a little while. So yeah, so this is the URL. So you have to can copy this one and paste it here. So it's with the revision 4, and I will try to send the request 200. Okay, and now you can see we are getting too many requests as well for the revision 4. So the policy has been applied successfully. Okay, so that's all about the demo. So uh, that's what we have planned to do. I will wait here my PowerPoints. Okay, so this is about the demo. So we have created the HTTP trigger function app from C Sharp, JavaScript, deploy both of them to APIM, and a web API we created with minimal API, and that has been deployed to APIM. And also we applied a policy and a revision and tested it in the local Visual Studio Code as well. So that's all about the session for today. So if you have questions, you can ask from me. You can reach out to me from my mail, from my blog and Twitter and LinkedIn, Facebook, anywhere. I'm happy to help if you want to know something more about the session. And also have a I want to get a big help from you guys to get a rating of this session that I have delivered. So if you have a smartphone, please scan this QR code, so you will be getting a feedback form to provide your feedback. Once you have done that, you will get the email message to confirm that you are the person who has provided me the feedback. So this will be available in my speaker portal, and this will be it will be a great help for me to improve myself. So that's all about the session today. Thank you very much for joining. So if you have any questions, you can ask from me.
Thank you, and Samali for this session. It was wonderful, and I hope everyone here is having a great idea of Azure function and how to be building API and everything. So, if you guys have any questions, you can ask. Also, there was a request from the participants to have the presentations of the today's session. If you don't mind, you can share it with me, LinkedIn or wherever you feel okay. I'll be sharing with the participants.
Yeah, so Raga, I will share the PowerPoints and the code samples I have used.
Great. Thank you.
Okay, then thank you very much for your time. If you are shy to unmute and speak, unmute and ask questions, you can reach out to me from my mail or LinkedIn or Facebook.
If you guys are not having any questions, we can wind up, right? And attendance link is going to be shared shortly, and the recording will be available in an hour or two. Uh, yeah, I think there is a question from Kent. If you don't mind, you can just answer him.
Okay, so is it visible in the chat?
Yes, it's visible in the chat about the Azure function is suited for deploy web apps.
Uh, can you let me know the question? I can't see it.
So the question is Azure function suited for deploy web apps.
No, we can't use Azure Functions to deploy a web application. If you have like some simple work or maybe a complex one to do behind the scene, maybe to uh, on those days we were writing these Windows services to do this to perform something in the background to in a web application also. uh, if you are if you have multiple services to call to get some responses from the, maybe to create a product, maybe to retrieve the offers that we have, so you can expose them as API endpoints and deploy it into, create them as HTTP trigger Azure function and move them into APIM and get the work done. But at the whole, we can't deploy a web application or website to Azure function. Since it has a HTML front or it has a front end side of it, we can't do that.
Sorry, I hope the question is clear for you, Kent. And yeah, I hope you guys all gave a feedback to by doing the QR code. It is a great help for the speaker to be improving and giving more sessions for in an improved way. So please do make sure to scan the code and give her a feedback. I think there is no other questions related to the session. I think we can wind up with that note. And thank you, Handsome Ali, for the session again. It was wonderful, and hope to see you in upcoming or new events from our side. To see you in the presentation and everything. So yeah, with that note, we can wind up for today's session. And thank you all for joining.